Good morning, beautiful people. It is Wednesday, May 13th, 2020. California says you got to stay at home for at least 3 more months. All the schools said we're going to keep online classes for the fall semester. College football up in arms. Will the California teams just be grumpy out of luck and the rest of the country go for it? I don't know if they'll be able to because New York is probably going to be in the same type of situation as is Philadelphia. What about Massachusetts? What's going to happen with all the schools that are in states that do not care about said coronavirus anymore? Yesterday, the Blue Angels flew over Indianapolis as a tribute for the frontline workers who have been battling against this COVID-19 for the last 2 months or whatever. And there was families sprinting up and down the streets of Indianapolis. My old man is a guy that if you look at him, you're like, you know what? Potentially almost at the age where coronavirus could saw him down. I saw 2 kids use him like a jungle gym yesterday you never met before, hugging him on him while the Blue Angels flew over.
Yeah.
You go to a boat, there's people bonging beers against each other. In Indiana, and I assume in a lot of different states here in the middle of America, I think we had a respect for the coronavirus. I think we held up to the lockdown rule. We did the social distancing. But when that sun starts coming out in spring, and we've been locked down for a month and a half, and you start looking at the numbers in our particular states, everybody's like, I'll go out there and roll the dice. I'll go back out right now. I'll go barbecue right now if I have to. I'll go sit at some hipster outdoor little patio thing right now. And I think that's going to be an interesting thing because old Greg Sankey,
Yes.
the SEC commissioner, came out and said in May, he was like, hey, listen, they might have to go independent. Then he just said, we're a unified group. The conferences are a unified group. So the notion that they would be able to independently operate doesn't attach to reality, I believe was his exact quote. And that's an interesting thing because it's not 2005 anymore. Now, no offense to USC and the athletic director, Bone. That's our guy. Mike Bone is our guy. And no offense to UCLA and Chip Kelly. I understand that they probably have a team that's on the up and ups, and Stanford and all the other schools over there. But right now, California schools are not that relevant in college football. So then you think about the Pac-12 in general. You're like, even Pac-12 coaches know that they're not that relevant in college football. You think the SEC in 2 months from now, if everything is opened up in all the states in the South and in the Midwest, you think the SEC is going to say, nah, we can't do it because the Pac-12 doesn't have the ability to open up their schools? There's no chance in hell that happens. No chance in hell. And then you look at the NFL, the 3-month extended stay-at-home order for California teams. I would assume that the NFL, and I think it's already been said, they're looking for potential, or the 2 California teams now, no, 3, geez. Raiders left town. San Francisco's still there, though.
Yes.
2 down south. 1 up north, up there in Silicon Valley where they create all this stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully the tech that's going to solve all this, but they're not allowed to go out of their houses for the next 3 months. They're already looking into potentially moving those teams out of California to play somewhere else. What are they going to do with the Giants and Jets in New Jersey? What are they going to do with the Patriots up there in Massachusetts? What are they going to do with any of those teams? Philadelphia Eagles, are they going to move them all inland? Because it feels like the middle of America here is living in a much different time than the people that are on the coast. And listen, I know there's always been a conversation that middle America is much different than the coast, and coastal elitist is something that people say. But at this exact time, that mindset of, hey, we live in a different world than them is it's reigning true at the moment. It is 100% reigning true. And I think there's a lot of people that are going to have to figure things out. But it feels like if you're listening to the NBA calls and then you're watching the curves, the curves getting flattened in a lot of places, it feels like this fall, even though California says, hey, we're not even letting our kids come back to school, it feels like we're going to have sports again full circle, which I need. I need the football world back. I need that this fall. I need it big time. I don't know how they're going to handle just moving teams out of cities that are in a bad spot, or how the Pac-12 is going to, like, what about Utah and Oregon, who are the best 2 teams in the Pac-12 last year? Will they be able to say, hey, you know what, for 1 year, let's go to the Big 12. Let's play there because we're able to play. Will they make that type of thing? That's going to have to be a lot of agreements and a lot of contracts signed by a lot of people to get that done, new schedules and everything. I mean, there's a lot to unfold here, but I feel like we're potentially taking steps in the right direction, even though some governments, it feels like, are doing the things that they think are precautious, are going in the opposite direction. We're in a weird time right now where I think we're going like this, and then California government's like, nah, we are not. And then you listen to like New York, Philadelphia, Massachusetts, and everything. It's like, well, I just don't know how they're going to be able to hold back the middle of America over here where we live, where it's just like, hey, we're ready to go. and we're ready to roll the dice out there. That's what it feels like. Literally, 2 kids using my dad as a jungle gym yesterday as the Blue Angels. My dad had never met those kids. Those kids could have been carrying whatever. Who knows what germs they had got from the McDonald's play place they just came from, let alone maybe coronavirus. You don't know what those things are. Little human pet there jumping on Tim McAfee because the Blue Angels flew by. It's like, hey, Beck, are we not in a 6-foot social distancing, you little rodent? Get the hell out of here.
No, and this California stuff doesn't concern me as much for the NFL because they don't have to keep up the facade of the student athlete or whatever, because it's not like they have, if like the colleges where the students can't come back, but you keep college sports, that ruins that facade. So it's going to be a little bit more difficult for them just because of the imagery, but I think the NFL is going to be all right.
By the way, I am a big advocate for the athlete part of the student human athlete title. I don't understand how that's the big angle, because if they're taking online classes, everybody still is.
True.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I don't, because they're always like, well, if students can't be on campus, how come the football team can be there? And I agree completely. I would assume it's easier to test, though, the 150 people from the college football team on a daily basis as opposed to an entire campus who's taking the classes online. So I never really understood that whole thing, but that was a narrative that was getting pushed by a lot of people, and I can respect it. Anything that makes the NCAA have to feel exposed for, student human athlete. These guys are no different than anybody else. It's like, well, they make $70 million for your school. They're a little bit different, but I understand.
We should all just agree that we're not going to question it. Like, if we're not going to question it.
No, I think the off the record conversations that are happening right now, I would like to hear.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I would like to hear the off the record, because you can't say anything publicly that could potentially put you in a spot where you're promoting unhealthy actions potentially, or risk, danger, death, all that stuff. But off the record, I assume there's a lot of conversations that are like, hey, we're doing, like, if California says no, it's like, that sounds like a them problem, right? That's not our problem. Like, absolutely, but we cannot say. We believe, like, they have to come out, like the behind-the-scenes conversations right now, I think, because we are in a very unprecedented time. Nobody has ever seen the world like this. Nobody has seen the world shut down, sports shut down. Now the rolling back into the entire thing is going to be quite a controversy, no matter how it goes. In California, extending the stay-at-home orders and then classes getting canceled. I assume New York is going to be doing something along the same. These cities and places that are hit very hard by this, they're going to have to, by the way, terrible that it happened, but they're going to have to adjust. I mean, it's going to be, we're going to test the unity of the group here. We're going to test the unity of how all these people, how together they are, because once you get some people who maybe see an opportunity to potentially take advantage and get a lot more dollars in their pocket, I would assume that is going to be something that's going to be tough to turn down for a lot of people, including that man right there who said, hey, this is going to be the local governments and schools to make the decision, because for me, I think we should play. But I'm not saying anything, which is a smart move.
Do you think if teams in California and New York operate under the notion that there aren't going to be any fans there all year long, then they would let them play?
At Ty Schmidt right there, at Tone Diggs is here, at Nick Moraldo's here, Jason McAfee's here, at Viva Lazita looks svelte, at Evan Foxy, and on the phones, 1-833-622-3331. He's not going to be happy about this, because ladies and gentlemen, Boston Connor.
Oh, man, I'm very happy about this one, Pat.
What are you?
I am you know what? I'm a gopher.
So loud. Is it not, like, hey, it's not muffling your
Oh, it's not? Oh, I apologize.
It's okay.
Oh, geez. I can't really hear myself in this thing, and I figured that there was no chance that my voice was going to make it through the entire thing.
Why we can see your whole face. Why the gopher?
Why the gopher? Because the gopher is just such an elite animal. When we talk about necktie mentality, okay, we talk about gophers. We talk about Minnesota. And I wanted to bring that to, and that's another reason I have on one of my PMIZ shirts, just to bring that type of energy.
What does your head is covering the entire dry erase board there? What does that say?
Oh, it says, thank you, Blue Angels. Just an absolutely unbelievable performance. They flew so low, I didn't even know they could get that low.
Agreed.
And they were going so fast, I mean, it was just a spectacle.
Hey, they were buzzing buildings down here in Indianapolis.
They almost gave me a haircut.
Needed it too.
I still need it.
Me too. This thing's getting out of control. But there were some people in this office who weren't exactly impressed by the Blue Angels' performance.
I know, yeah.
Yeah, and those people are terrorists.
I didn't really understand those guys, but that's the thing about Yankees fans. They're just terrible people.
Well, how could you understand it? You were sitting actually right there when the Blue Angels show happened. You weren't out in the parking lot. You actually didn't see them. So I don't know why you're grandstanding saying they were great.
Well,
see, by the way, that was Ty. that said that the show wasn't that impressive, who I just alluded to being a terrorist.
The reason I didn't go outside is because I love the Blue Angels so much. I watch every single clip of them online multiple times, at least 10 times a day. So although I already knew the formation they were in, I mean, I felt great about the Blue Angels. That's why I didn't go outside. I wanted you to enjoy it, Ty, but you didn't.
Now, Connor was accurate in predicting what formation the Blue Angels would be in, and we called him a stooge whenever he said that one of the Blue Angels would be flying directly in the jet path from another. He wasn't wrong. He wasn't exactly right, but he was not wrong because they were below. He guessed it 100%. And you know what? Maybe we should give you a little bit more credit, Connor, for that brain of yours.
No, we shouldn't, because I'm going to be so wrong on so many more things as this year progresses. But I do appreciate being right once a year.
Blue Angels, by the way, great show.
Great show.
Still got it.
Still got it.
Oh, my
Still
God.
got it. And a man who just finished a Greek and Latin final as well as 2 other finals yesterday, back in the saddle, intern Emmett. How are you, pal?
Doing really good.
You feel a little bit of a weight lifted off of your shoulders because of that Greek and Latin final being done?
Yeah, happy I got an A.
Did you really?
Wow.
What?
Good for you.
Can you speak Greek and Latin then for the rest of the show, or
No, it's a dead language. You don't speak it, you write them.
Greek?
Idiots.
Latin's
Idiots.
Latin's a dead
Dumb,
language, but I'm pretty
stupid
sure you
dumb.
still speak Greek.
Greek is also a dead language.
I should have questioned.
Well, Latin,
I'm an
though.
idiot for questioning a guy who just took the class.
Yeah, he just got an A. He's got an A, too. Latin, though, if you know Latin, I guess you know, like, potentially 4 other languages as well. So look at Emmett becoming a very diverse human, and that's what we need here, honestly. Did you cheat? Yeah, you did, didn't you? Google.
No, I did not cheat.
Smart.
Good for you,
Smart.
dude.
Smart.
Well said.
Sure sounded the way he delivered that as his guy who cheated but wouldn't go on the record as not cheating.
Right.
It's the only time he's ever had inflection in his voice.
Ever. Ever. Normally it's just we're staying right here. That one, I did not have sexual relations. Ty, you said in New York and Massachusetts, if they knew that they were going to have no fans, do you think they would continue to go?
Yeah, at least for the NFL.
Maybe, right? Because this number has been tossed out that the NFL's debt limit has been raised for each team another $150 million. So from $350 million in debt, it has jumped up to $500 million in debt per team, which they can use, I assume, as they please. That was something that was voted upon in a conference call yesterday with Roger Goodell, I guess. And I have a lot of questions. I'm like, okay, if they're going into $500 million in debt because they're thinking there's a chance of $1 billion losses or $1 billion worth of losses if they were to go without fans. Is $150 million really enough for them? And I think we did the math the other day. It is. I don't think that would be enough for them, an extra $150 million. But who are they getting this debt from? Like, does the NFL have a bank? Like, is Roger Goodell running a bank that they're like, you know what? Everybody can get another $150 million per team. It's $500 million per, which I believe is $16 billion. So what bank are they getting this debt from, $16 billion? If it's their own banks and they're allowed to do business, does that bank have to keep that completely open with Roger Goodell so they know who's using what amount of money for debt? And also, how long has this been happening? Like, teams have just been using this debt model for a lot of, like, I don't think I knew about this, and we tried to read as many articles as possible about it. Nobody knew a damn thing. But if there's only a couple teams that don't have fans in their stands, if it's New York, Massachusetts, teams in that nature, Philadelphia, I think the rest of the NFL, because of how they operate as a team, as opposed to the Dallas Cowboys or their own operation, I would assume that debt is potentially to make up for those teams that won't be able to go fans, right? I would assume that is potential. I think that while, Dave Portnoy is winning the man cave thing, Roger Goodell is probably sitting in Zooms trying to figure out every case scenario, like how do we figure out everything? And here's what it's looking like. Here's this. Because the NFL, we all understand, is not going to be slowed down by this. I think if we can bet on something at this moment on Wednesday, May 13th, it's that the NFL is going to ford the river. Okay, that is what they're going to do. This is the Oregon Trail. They got the saddle in the back. They got their entire family walking alongside. And when they get an opportunity to either wait it out until the flood dies down or to ford the river, they are fording the river every single time. And I think that's good news for Americana, but it also obviously has its risks. So they have to weigh risk management, which is like, hey, pros and cons here. We got a lot of teams that'll be able to operate however they want. We got some teams that might have to have no audience. Let's go ahead and up the debt limit, which we could potentially transfer over to those teams who don't make any of the money while we all do it. And if the LA teams have to move into another state, where do they go there? Do they just hijack a college? Do they just say, hey, this is our team now? Like, what do they do? I don't know how it operates. I don't know how it's going to go, but I think that is something that the entire NFL is figuring out. And for the NCAA, they're going to have to see how unified they actually are. I think the Pac-12 already feels as if they're maybe like the ugly stepbrother of the whole thing. Mm-hmm. And I feel like there's going to become a chance where the rest of the world can show whether or not they're the ugly stepbrother. And they're going to have to make a decision there on whether or not they move on without the California teams, because it feels like the California state, and I hate this we have a lot of listeners and followers in California. We appreciate the hell of you. We hate that you're going through this, but it feels like they are going to be in a much different world than us going forward here in the next couple of weeks and then for months to come. It's like, how, if you're the SEC, Big 10, Big 12, how do you look at that and be like, okay, so our world is back, but there isn't. Do we sit back because of them? And none of them have really been relevant for a long time. What do we do here? And it's going to be intriguing. They're going to write books about this. They're going to write, there's going to be 20 years from now, we're going to tell a lot of stories about how this is all handled. And it's going to be interesting to see how the history unfolds.
I'm excited to see like the NFL teams playing at like Boise and Nevada and places like that. That'll be fun to see.
Yeah, so Las Vegas Raiders, that pitch black stadium that they built in the middle of the desert is about done. Looks beautiful. Yeah. The LA stadium, I don't think I've seen anything that looks near done, right? I don't think I've seen any video.
No.
Draft night, they showed a video I think we saw from a couple months before that. And then the Raiders one, they had a completely finished. So where will the Los Angeles teams go to now? That's the next question. Maybe they go to San Antonio.
And like
Down there, San Antonio.
And like, do all the players and their families move there and get temporary housing? So like, they actually do kind of have a home site during the season, or are they going to travel back to California to their homes after every single game?
No way. They would have to pick up and move, I'd assume. And then maybe that's the debt limit that's being raised so that they can pay for housing for places, for players. I don't know. I have no idea how this is going to work. If I were them, do the Rams and Chargers both go to the same city? Absolutely not, right?
No, probably not.
No, if I'm the Chargers, I'm trying to get out of the Ram City as stat. Like, I'm send them to Wyoming. I'm going right down here to San Antonio. Welcome back to the San Antonio Chargers if I'm them. And maybe, by the way, just maybe, just like Oklahoma City had there with a little bit of a run, this could be a trial run to see if a great city like San Antonio could potentially get a team later. Now, that would be expansion, and that would be a whole other conversation that would have to happen. There'd be another draft, and who knows if the NFL wants to do that. But there's a lot of cities that have been begging for an NFL team for a long time. Maybe they go there. How about – no, can't do it.
San Antonio was the one that I was thinking.
Well, the Rams can't go back to St. Louis.
Well, yeah, but the Chargers
Stadium's
could
still there.
steal St.
that'd be
Louis's
awesome.
pride.
By the way, the Battlehawks fan base are ready for an NFL team to be back in there. They still got that terrible dome.
Yeah.
That was a despicable dome. It's terrible. It's probably the worst playing surface I've ever seen, but electric for those Battlehawks game.
Caught on fire.
And if they have to get through, I mean, there's a lot of problems in there. It's why the Rams wanted to leave or whatever, allegedly, because they wouldn't get a new stadium. But now we're talking about, what are we, 3 months away from the season? Mm-hmm. 3 months away from the season, and teams don't even have homes yet. Did the XFL help some of these teams? Because the St. Louis Battlehawks showed that they could definitely handle a program if they had to right now. Would they go there? How about Portland? Does Portland... They probably will they be locked
Portland
down?
State's there.
That's what I'm saying. Here we go.
Is that too close?
Because
Just in California, like I assume
West
the whole
Coast.
kind of West Coast there, because that's kind of coastal.
yeah, Washington, right, was the start of this whole thing.
Yeah.
That nursing home, rest in peace. But I don't know. Hey, that's what we're here for, to talk about things we don't know enough about. 17 minutes after the hour, we got to get to a break. We got Ted Ginn joining us in 12 minutes. And then in the second hour, NBA insider from The Athletic, Shams Charania, and our Arizona reporter and insider, Alan Quay Shipley.
Whoa!
Loaded show coming at you. There's a lot to talk about. Adam Silver aiming for 2 to 4 weeks to make a decision. Seems like there's a lot of optimism to play last season going into next season. Potentially have Mark Cuban joining the show in the next couple of days.
What?
What?
Cubes?
What?
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 Huh?
Yeah. And I'm going to ask him. Okay. Listen, I know I have to ask him about the NBA, but I don't know how many times I'm going to get to talk to Mark Cuban. I got a lot of questions. YouTube questions during the break and a phone call at youtube.com/The Pat McAfee Show. For the radio, you're going to listen to people try to sell you stuff. You don't have to buy it, but if you want to, pull the trigger. It's your life. This is the Pat McAfee Show. All right, welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show here. Wednesday, May 13th, 2020. This hair is getting out of control.
I like it.
It's getting very large. I might end up with the. I'm gonna probably fade it. I'm probably gonna get the DJ Pauly D blowout.
Yeah, smart.
Gotta do it.
Yeah,
Smart.
Probably the blowout. My hair's built for it. Might as well pull it.
Hairspray you gonna use?
No, I think I'll just naturally do it. It'll be like the Patrick Mahomes flop, but since I'm a Caucasian dude, it'll look like the blowout.
Justin Timberlake, you could say.
Jerry.
That was kind of a fro.
Yeah, he had a perm. I tried to get the Justin Timberlake curls one time in high school. It was like a day after I dyed my hair chocolate cherry, so it was a little bit weak. Ooh. Almost burned off my entire scalp. Yeah, not a good move. Not a good move. Every once in a while, we like to dive deep in the most beautiful part of the internet, the YouTube comment section, for some YouTube questions.
YouTube question.
Zito, what do we got today, pal?
All right, this is actually from a couple days ago, but I totally forgot I had it. Jeff Monty the Third. Hey, Zeke, here's my question. What percentage of active NFL rosters were drafted versus undrafted?
What do you think, Zeke?
I'm going to say more undrafted than drafted.
Yeah, I don't know about undrafted, but second half of the draft in two undrafted is like 60-40, I think, or something like that nature, maybe 70-30.
Yeah.
Because you obviously only have a couple players there in the first two drafts. You have like 15 people you can potentially hit on in the backside. You also don't have to pay them as much, and they probably play on your special teams unit, which is people that you need.
Yeah.
So I would assume a lot higher number than you think is coming from the back half of the draft and undrafted free agency. But are they the star players? Every once in a while, one will bust out. Every once in a while. Russell Wilson, 4th-round draft pick, I believe. T.Y. Hilton was 3rd round. I guess he doesn't count. Robert Mathis, 6th-round draft pick. He goes and makes it. Antoine Bethea. There's a couple guys that I know personally that were. Gary Brackett was undrafted, I believe. So there's a lot of people that have made it, and that's how the Bill Polian system. But it's a higher percentage than you think because all draft talk leading up to is what, about the first 10 picks. Mm-hmm. It's like, all right, stats say probably half of them aren't going to pan out, or maybe even more on some certain years. And then here we are in the back half with the guys that nobody thought would make it. They didn't think they were good enough, fast enough, didn't think they had a high enough football IQ. Maybe they had a little bit of a red flag or two because they got public intoxications in college, didn't know if they could stay off the booze. Maybe they had a failed test. That's why they got run down a little bit. Then those guys see if there's money on the line and says, fuck, I'm going to figure this out. Let me start getting into punt pass sets here, and I'm going to cover a punt and hopefully have a 7 to 8 to 9 year career, unless the rookie minimum is so much lower than the veteran minimum, and the quarterbacks eat up such a salary cap that all the veteran men get fired anyways because the rookie man's like a $500,000 payday. So, great question. Jeff Conti the third.
The third.
The third. The second must have lived. I'm excited to hear what the question the second would have asked. And if the first would have heard what the third just asked, would he have been proud or said, that motherfucker shouldn't have my name? We don't know. All right, about 30 seconds until we're back on radio. Should we take a phone call? Yeah. Oh, Rodri from Wales. We'll wait.
Oh, Rodri.
Rodri, we'll wait for Rodri. Because I don't understand a word that motherfucker says.
It's tough.
But it's always good conversation.
I had to ask him to repeat his words 8 times.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Jeez. Maybe we don't have him on the show then.
I think we have to.
Rodri's the next commercial break. Speaking of, radio commercials over.
Oh.
Somebody in the comment section just told us to look at the Bloomberg article on the debt limit.
I just read it. I don't know if I'm just too dumb to understand it.
Yeah, probably.
It talks about like the debt limit has to do with buying the teams and how much debt they could go in after they buy a team, and like the owners have to put up like 30% of the money, blah blah blah.
None of it makes any sense.
I'll dig into it deeper later.
Well, who's the bank? Who's the bank?
It didn't say.
Is it the NFL's? Is the NFL loaning the money to them so Roger Goodell just gets to pick and choose who goes? Because if it's another bank, do they have to be transparent with the money? Who's lying? Probably everybody's lying to the NFL on how much money they're going into debt.
I found an old article from like 2016 when they got like a $2.7 billion loan
From
the bank, and they said like banks love to do it because they do charge them extra for like the return on it, like the
oh yeah, that's how interest rate on
yeah,
top
it's
of
like a
it.
higher than
I would
than
want,
it is, though.
but it is interesting because if you know it's coming from a billionaire as a bank, you could probably raise the interest.
Oh, yeah.
But what bank is it? What bank has $16 billion just sitting around to be the NFL's bank?
Federal Reserve.
Goldman Sachs.
I don't know if it's the Feds, but probably them, huh? Probably
I bet you
Goldman
there's
Sachs.
a lot of them.
That have $16 billion just sitting around?
Like, there's another one here. They get it from insurance
Do you
companies.
know how much
as
money
well.
$16 billion is?
Yeah.
Trump put together that commissioner team. He's gonna use the Federal Reserve's money to save all of the
The
leagues.
Feds are not the bank loan for the NFL. There's no way the Feds. Maybe. I mean,
They might be.
Who knows?
Times are tough.
they're like $75 trillion in debt. Maybe that's just a little drop in the bucket for that entire thing. Arizona says sports can start this Saturday. They say, hey, listen, you got your grandkids because you're all old whites that live out here, okay? You got your grandkids coming out here. Maybe you got a little T-ball maybe kicking off, and maybe you're worried about missing the soccer season or something like that. Don't you worry about what's going on in them big cities. Out here in the desert because it's warm, we kill the virus. You get back on that diamond this weekend, okay? You start taking BP with your dad out there. You start hitting off a tee. You start kicking the soccer ball around with your friends in the neighborhood. Arizona has said, hey, Major League sports and sports in general can resume without fans starting this Saturday, May 16th. Now, whenever they say Major League sports and they're only in one state, what does that mean? Does that mean the Diamondbacks are going to take on the Suns in a basketball game? Is that what's going to
that'd
happen?
be awesome.
Is that what Arizona's going to do for the rest of the country? We're going to set up a basketball game between the Diamondbacks and the Phoenix Suns? Because I'm here for it, by the way. I like that the governor said Major League sports can come back in this state. How about you? So that's like a call out to other governors like, okay, Major League sports can happen in this state as well. Like, what state's going to go up and say, no, California, probably New York, Massachusetts, Philadelphia would have to say it. So that's all of Pennsylvania. Like, Pittsburgh's in a much different world than Philadelphia. What happens there? There are so many questions right now. So many questions right now.
Time will tell.
Only time.
Only
will tell.
time. But
Arizona got in ahead of it, though, and Arizona said, hey, listen, Major League Sports come back here if you want. Maybe they pick up another. Maybe the Rams go out to Arizona. They go to Tucson. The Tucson Chargers taking on another team out there in the desert.
that'd be awesome.
It wouldn't be bad.
I was thinking like earlier when like Arizona said that it ties strictly to the MLB and saying like bring all like because they all have all the spring training stadiums like just come play your season here if you need to.
Hey, Major League Sports can happen here, and nobody else calls their league the Major League.
True.
Right, other than baseball. So maybe that is a direct call out to baseball. Like, hey, you can come build said biodome that you were thinking about building out here. We say Major League Sports are completely okay to happen in Arizona. Now, we have Sham Sharani, and I believe we have Jeff Passan on tomorrow as
Yes.
well. Jeff Passan?
Passing.
Jeff Passan is ESPN's MLB guy. He crushes it on Get Up whenever he's talking about the sport that really nobody cares about anymore. Tomorrow we'll talk to him about the potential biodome that happens in Arizona with the governor getting on board with it. Is this something that they're really contemplating doing? And I think Adam Silver came out of the meeting yesterday and said, if we do plan on getting back into this and we do the tournament or whatever, we have to understand that if one person gets it, we're going to have to continue. We can't just shut down everything. And I don't know if Adam Silver was pushing for that or if that was what he was saying. Like, hey, if we do decide to go along with this, my input is this. We have to be able to move forward if somebody comes out positive with coronavirus because we can't just shut it down if one person gets it because it feels like people are going to get it. So that's an interesting take from Adam Silver that I would assume the guy who called his championship trophy a piece of metal, Ron Manfred, is also thinking, but he's also thinking, let's get back out there to Arizona and play the game because they were one of the first ones to say, let's biodome this thing.
Do you think for those commissioners it was huge to see this weekend when one UFC fighter tested positive, they sent him away, they quarantined him, and then the rest of the weekend went off without a hitch? Like that was big to show that one person can be positive, but you don't have to shut everything down.
Somebody in the comment section said Major League Soccer as well. Okay, got it. You're right. 100% right. I wasn't right, but I don't know if everybody's going to go play soccer in the desert in the summer. I don't know if that's going to be something that's going to
Except
happen.
for they decided to make the World Cup in
Qatar. It's only
What do they play 3 a.m?
400 degrees. What's that, dude?
What time do they play those games? They had to play like
it hasn't
It
happened.
hasn't happened yet, but people have been just dying building these things out there, they're building these stadiums, which, everybody says the World Cup and FIFA are very legit operations.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's what they're known
FIFA,
for.
real legit.
What were you talking about again? Yeah, you
Uh,
forgot, so did I. Yeah, you said something about the commissioners talking about it, Dana White.
oh, yeah, because one guy tested positive.
Yeah, so Dana White, I think, is going to be a guy who people are going to say was maybe a driving force in these commissioner conversations that are happening in that council that Trump put together, where it's Dana White, I think Vince McMahon's on there, Mark Cuban's on there, all these. I would assume Dana White has the same mentality as Vince McMahon had, which is the show will go on here. Okay, let's figure out how we've been able to do this. We started this thing. We bought this, for $1 million? Now it's up a $4 billion company. There's a reason, because we figure things out and move forward. Dana White he bought an island. Fight Island is allegedly potentially happening for Khabib and Gaethje. So he was ready to go whenever all this was just popping off. And he said that his partner said he can't do it. And that all he did the entire time was sit back and try to gather as much information as possible, probably to fit his narrative that we can do this and figure it out. And he got to the point where he was like, here we go, we're doing this. One person tests positive. He probably had a plan for that already. Like, hey, as soon as somebody tests positive, just get them the hell out of here. I think WWE was testing people every single time they were coming into the Performance Center. I would assume there was a couple people that maybe had fevers or something of that nature that we didn't hear about, that they were like, all right, you get the hell out of here. We don't need you infecting anybody else. That is probably what Adam Silver is thinking about. That's probably what piece of metal Rob Manfred's thinking about. I would assume Roger Goodell is in the same position as that. We have to get to a break for radio because we got Ted Ginn joining us. We will take some phone calls during a break at youtube.com/The Pat McAfee Show. It's 30 minutes after the hour, Wednesday, May 13th. That's what it'll be. Everybody will be tested on the way in.
Yeah.
And and allegedly they have a different test other than the one that they shoved the nunchuck.
I can't see anything in there.
And then they pull it all the way out.
We need the bigger nunchuck.
It was literally like this. It was literally like this long.
That's what the KBO has to do. I saw that. That's not.
Do you want to go get tested? Come on. It's really easy. Just you shove this thing to your brain, and then it tickles your brain a little bit, and it says, how we doing? And then it comes out. It's like, ain't nobody want to test. I would assume that they're going to figure out a way to make that a much easier process. Maybe you can test for something else that can tell you should test for coronavirus, right? Mm-hmm. That's what they do for AIDS and HIV.
Yeah.
You test for one thing. If you fail for that, okay, now we have to test for it. I would assume they'd be able to do that. Get the players in on the way in. Coaching and staff's on the way in. Anybody got anything? Get them the hell out of here.
Simple.
Work for the UFC.
Hey, and there's a lot of human contact in that one.
Yeah.
They're on top of each other in that. Literally.
The refs are touching their faces every time they go
Rubbing
in.
their faces.
Yeah.
Hands off your face. The ref's like, come here. Let me get this thing. Sneeze right on me if you can.
Bleeding and sweating on each other.
And sitting right there and just waiting for a guy to throw 5 haymakers and not even think about moving. I think sports are coming back, but it's going to be interesting to see how they handle this. 31 minutes after the hour, you're listening to The Pat McAfee Show. Welcome back to the international show that is the Pat McAfee Show. Joining us now all the way from Wales, mate Rodri. What's up, Rodri?
Hello, how's it going? I can't try slow today.
every
Sorry
time.
for the
Every time.
Oh, no.
No.
You guys, your experience with kicking
Go on the other side of your house.
Rodri.
There's probably better reception.
Rodri, need you to get out of the living room or wherever
Okay.
you're at. Yeah, you may be in the
Can't hear
garage
you. You're cutting
basement.
out.
Outside.
You're cutting out, Rodri.
Do you have aluminum foil?
Stick that on top of the phone.
experience with kicking camps.
There it
There it is.
Coming out of high schools are better.
Yeah, you sound good, Roger. We appreciate you, bub.
Sorry, bud.
Yeah.
Yeah, just experience with kicking camps going to high school. We got the Elite 11 up in Oregon now. Trent Dilfer, Jordan Palmer, Yogi Ross doing a great job up there. But with that, Pro Kick Australia even, Pat, doing a good job. But with that comes a lot of copycats, guys, we know. So, ex-players didn't quite cut there, trying to spout misinformation. Your thoughts, any experience of that, Pat, coming out of high school, what pitfalls high school kids should look out for coming out of high school?
Great question, Rodri. Great
He
question.
brings it.
He does. He talked about Elite 11 camp, which basically scouts and recruits the best quarterbacks so that colleges can just go to one spot and say, okay, here we are. They create a community. They all get better. Trent Dilfer's the head coach of that thing. Now he's a head coach at a private school down in Nashville, training Tua. That's a nice little community there. The quarterbacks have always kind of been in their own community. I think there's a lot of other positions that are doing the same thing. For kickers and punters, there's a lot of snake oil salesmen out there. There's a lot. And it's a reason why I can't coach at these camps, because when I see a kid that sucks, it's very hard for me not to say, hey, your parents are wasting money on these camps. This is not something you're supposed to do. I understand that your technique might be able to get better, but there ain't no fucking way you're getting leg speed in the next year and a half that's going to make you good at this. Because if I was to say that, then they're probably not going to come to another camp, which kind of ruins the business of the person saying, hey, you come to this camp, we'll be able to get your kid a scholarship. You won't have to pay for school. So I don't think kicking and punting is the only world where that happens. I think it happens in a lot of positions where people lie. Maybe in basketball it happens as well. Like, hey, you pay $1,500, you come, there's a better chance you're going to get a scholarship. And what's $1,500 to $20,000 a year tuition? It's really nothing. You come here, that happens. I think there's a lot of lying that happens in a lot of things. I think if a guy's got it, he's got it. But for me, the Coles kicking camps have been the most accurate representation of people that try to make you better. Jamie Cole is a good guy. I think he grew up in Wisconsin or Iowa. He went to Iowa State from Wisconsin. Maybe he's from Iowa. Anyways, he's good. I like him a lot. He's the kicking coach right now for the Chicago Bears. Other than that, I think it's very tough to believe a lot of people. I think there's good coaches out there, I'd assume, and there's people that do great work. But you got to be very, very worried about those who have never accomplished anything trying to teach you something. That's just something I think it's very difficult. But everybody needs a good coach. Maybe there is a coach that can take somebody to the next level. But for me, there seems to be a lot of bullshit out there.
Oh, yeah.
Seems to be a lot of bullshit out there. You just got to watch your money. You got to watch your chickens, bro. You know what I mean? You got to watch your chickens and your mentals.
Yeah, I mean, like, if you're a high school kicker or something like that, why would you go anywhere, like, if they didn't have a reputable name? Or well,
because you're trying to get better. Like, there's like Chris Saylor is a guy. I've never been to his camps. I assume they're good. Ray Guy had camps for a long time. There's this Coach Jackson that stopped by. He has good camps. Like, there's a lot, but there's probably hundreds of people that say that they can get people to college. And I just, if I'm a dad or a mom, I couldn't be a mom at the current moment. We don't know what's going to happen in the future. Shout out Caitlin. But, like, if I'm a dad, I can't just, I mean, maybe, you know what I mean? I don't know if Sam will have the Kris Jenner effect on me and just want me to completely slice my dick off.
2020.
You never know. Never know. I mean, honestly,
only time will tell.
Only time will tell. We don't know. We're not there. I mean, I from what I heard, Bruce has been feeling this way for a long time.
Yeah.
But I don't feel that way. But fuck, it feels like whenever he got into that family, he just said, you know what, cut the dick off. Let me get out. And by the way, I'm happy for him. I'm happy he has found who he's supposed to be. But if I'm a dad, I'm watching film of said guy that's supposed to teach my kid. And if he ain't worth the shit, I'm like, I ain't giving you a fucking dollar.
Isn't a big part of that, too, the reputation those guys have with coaches? So, like, an upstart one isn't going to be able to, like, you know, have that contact with these coaches to really vouch for a kid.
And nowadays with the internet, you just bomb balls on the internet, people will see you. You know what I mean? You don't necessarily have to go to this camp. Wild world, though. I like that question from Roger. Happy he ran out of his basement so we could hear it. We're back in 15 seconds on radio, and we got Ted Ginn. Superstar Ted Ginn joining us. Friend of the show. Very fast. Just signed with the Bears. Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show here, Wednesday, May 13th. Joining us now, friend of the show, man who's played for the Panthers and the Saints, and he just signed a one-year deal with the Chicago Bears. From Ohio State, Ted Ginn. Yeah! Our boy Ted!
What's going on?
Yeah, yep. Oh, I see a little mini basketball hoop in the back. How often have we been getting after that during this quarantine?
You know, I get a little in every now and then. You know, my daughter come in, she get hers in. You know, that's our NBA right now.
I can respect it. I assume there's great battles happening in that room. Let's talk about you signing with the Bears. First of all, congratulations. Last time we talked to you, you were a free agent. You were trying to see where you're going to end up at. Why did you end up with the Bears? Why did you pick the Bears? And where else were you thinking about potentially headed?
Well, you know, the Bears been in my corner for a while. You know, every time I've been in free agency, then it came through and took a chance at him in a look. You know, but this time it's a little different. You know, Nagy, got involved. It kind of like his last name. He was nagging. He called me like almost like an old school recruiting trip. Kind of like what I heard you talking about earlier as I was paying attention to your show. A little bit. But
Hey, here we go.
he called me every day and we talked about everything, not even X's and O's. We just talked about just regular life. He looked at me as a man,
That's
as a
awesome.
grown man. What I'm saying that, you know, be able to come in and help something that he has going on, and we talk sometimes 15 minutes, sometimes 30 minutes, sometimes an hour, sometimes an hour and a half,
Here we go.
between the install when they first got on the Zooms and different things like that that brought my attention. And for me to be 35 going to year 14 and somebody that really actually wants you, speak the value of who he is and what that team is about.
And I would assume because of that, you're going to go, not that you wouldn't, but you're always going to go harder for somebody that you absolutely appreciate. And the fact that Nagy's doing this, I would assume it's making you feel like you're at home already. Had you ever talked to Nagy before this? Is your first introduction to him?
This is my first introduction to him, once they reach out, and I guess from, previous years, I guess he took it in his hands like, hey, I want this dude, and I'm happy to be there. They got a great team. They on fire. They coming up. Uh, I come in and I do my part, with Robinson there, and we'll figure out the quarterback deal as that come along, and just play ball. That defense has always been top five.
Yep.
With Khalil on the end. So we just got to go out and just play ball on the offensive side and compete with our defense every day in practice, and we'll be fine.
So obviously, the quarterback situation is all anybody is talking about in Chicago right now. How have they? Have you been? Are you on a group text with both of them? How has that? How has that been going? Because Matt Nagy has come out and said, "Hey, this is healthy competition," and it sounds like he legitimately means that, which is not always normal. How have they been handling that? Has it been interesting? Have you been talking to both of them? Because now you've got to build up a rapport with two different veteran quarterbacks at this point, because that's a big deal, I assume, between a quarterback and wide receiver.
Well, me being a little older, you kind of like go with the flow,
Smart.
Um, it's a Zoom call. I try to stay within my parameters of my coach. All my questions I try to go to him about. You don't want to get into a thing where a guy feel like, or you only deal with him, or you only deal with him.
Yeah.
And then that becomes effective to you on the field. I don't think that guy likes me or whatever it may be. So, you just let the overhead control what they control, and you go out and you try to make both of them look good. You try to make both of them look perfect because, you play in the National Football League, and week 1 we can have Trubisky, and week 5 we can have Nick Foles, and then week 9 we got Trubisky back. So you just never know when that guy is going to have an opportunity. So you just got to make every opportunity work.
I mean, that's why Nick Foles is currently at the Bears, right? Because he signed an $80 million deal because they had Carson Wentz. And Nick Foles comes in, leads them into their biggest games and wins. He goes to Jacksonville, gets hurt, goes to Chicago. I mean, the NFL, you have no idea who it is. Making friends with everybody's probably a smart move, Ted. That's probably why you've been around over it. That's probably a smart move. Sean Payton has come out. I don't want to take you backwards, but you were with the Saints for a little bit. Sean Payton has come out and said that Taysom Hill is the guy moving forward. He said, Taysom Hill is our quarterback. He still views him as Steve Young, but everybody said, well, if that's the case, then why last year did you have Teddy Bridgewater? In practice, did Taysom Hill do anything quarterback-wise that made the rest of the world, that we didn't see, that goes, you know what, Sean Payton, there's a reason Sean Payton thinks this guy's unbelievable? Or is it because in games, whenever he gets asked to do things, he just shows up?
Well, I'll say both. As a quarterback, man, he have his drives. He comes in and he delivers the ball at times. He's just like any young quarterback that's coming up. He have his days in practice where he can look amazing, and have his days where he needs some help. I think that's every player in this game. And you just see that on the flip side, when he does touch the ball and the other things that he do and he get asked to do, he excels in them, and he's like one of the best that does it. Like, you could put him at tight end and he's up there with some of the best tight ends. You put him at receiver, he's up there some of the best tight ends. I mean, he's running some of the things that you never see from a normal quarterback, which you would say is my starting quarterback in the future.
Is Taysom Hill faster than you?
No.
Tyreek Hill tweeted and said Sammy Watkins is faster than him.
Hey, you know, man, people really see things and really see it for themselves. You know, like I say, man, there's a difference between track speed and football speed. You know, and I'm always gonna say that. I know guys who can't run on a track, but on a football field just as fast as me. You know, and it's just how that game is. It's just how the mind is tricky. You know, and I know guys that get on the track that has real good football speed and be slow as dirt. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's a double standards when it comes down to it, you know. So I commend a guy like that run 20 point to say that.
20 point. That's his 200. That is that track talk right there? What did you run? Did you run 200?
20 point. I got a 20 point.
Okay. All right. What are like the Olympic speeds? What are Olympic speeds?
Well, you're 20. You go to low 21s. They run it from 21.1 to 20.9. You know, you see my guy came with the 19 and all that crazy stuff about Hussein. So, you know, it's out there, you know. As you get older, you start really understanding what track is about. And it's more about steps and different things like that and strides and opening up here and, you love getting
track.
It faster here.
You love track, huh?
Yeah, I love track.
It has to be deeper than what I never did track because kind of a spark plug built Caucasian man, right? So not really my go-to. I mean, maybe I'll get in there and throw some things around if I have to, but I ain't run a mile, which is what most of the whites do, and there's no way I'm doing that. But it feels like there's a real science to this thing, and you would say that track is a direct benefit, like football is a direct benefactor because of your track. Do you think that is accurate?
For sure. I didn't have a name until I was a sophomore in track.
In college?
No.
In high school. And then you just started running past everybody in Ohio.
Yeah, and then once I was able to transfer that from my knowledge of football, you know, with my track speed, I was unstoppable.
Has there ever been a human on the field with you that has been faster than you? That is why Nagy called him so much. You can't, speed kills matchup. You can't teach speed. That is literally what you can't do. And when you have Ted Ginn on the field, what you're going to have to do at all times, whether you like it or not, is you have to have a safety sitting over there because there's a chance the top can get taken off at any given moment.
Yes.
Did the Packers call you at all? Because we have a guy in the room who's a diehard Packers fan, right there in the gray shirt. And he was like, as soon as we got off the phone with you the first time, he was like, okay, let's get Ted Ginn to the Packers. There's our weapon. There's a deep threat. There's nothing. Did anybody else call you that you, aside from Nagy, was there anybody else interested that you thought like, okay, maybe I'll go there, but then your friendship with Nagy grew so much?
No. You know, I think with that high level of receivers coming out in the draft and a couple young guys that was out there, they took their chances on what they wanted to take their chances on, and I went where somebody took a chance on me.
Ted, you're the absolute best. I can't thank you for joining us enough, bro. 4.22, 40, 20. I probably run a nice
20 point.
Sorry, that's on me. Point. I probably run a 30 point. That's why I don't know the.
There we go.
There we go. Hey, there we go. Ladies and gentlemen, stud athlete from The Ohio State, now a member of the Chicago Bears, Bear Don, Ted Ginn Jr.
Thank you, Ted.
Woo! Appreciate you, man.
No doubt. Anytime. Don't cut your dick off.
Hey. You got it. I won't do that. I appreciate it. Now, there's a guy, by the way, who in his 14th year, they have to shift coverage towards just because he's so fast at all times. And Nagy's calling him 15, 20 minutes a day, 30 minutes a day. Hey, how's it going, man? I know you might have heard some stuff about us, but hey, we get you in here. This is good news. That is awesome to hear from Nagy, by the way. I like to hear that happens still. In his 14th year, OG, a lot of people probably, but no Pro Bowl somehow, by the way.
Yeah.
No Pro Bowls for him. Ted Ginn, widely respected. 14th year, a head coach being humble enough to say, like, hey, I'm going to invest time in getting this guy into my offense because I think we need him. Good for Ted Ginn, good for the Bears.
How many coaches in the NFL do you think do something like that during free agency? Is talk to a guy every single day for however long it is, just and not even football, but talk about life. I get coaches would do it for Brady and stuff like that, but for someone who isn't in the first wave of free agency, who's going to help your team later, like how many do you think all coaches do that?
Oh, I think if you talk to the coaches that are good coaches, like his dad, for instance, there's different ways to reach different people. Right, like he's a 35-year-old. He said he talked to me like a man.
Yeah.
Like I think Ted Ginn, he might have heard from another coach who had Ted Ginn, like, hey, this is what Ted Ginn is like. This is what he responds to. Like some people cannot respond to criticism. So it's like, okay, whenever a coach is talking to that person, it's like, all right, I'm not going to bury him because he does not respond well to it. If you're a good coach, you have to learn to adapt to that. I would assume Nagy heard like, hey, this is what Ted Ginn's about. He wants to be talked to like he's an equal, like he's a man, and he's a good worker. He does everything you need. And Nagy was like, all right, you got it. So that was his recruiting thing. But there's some coaches who can't adjust, right? They're like some college coaches, obviously, they're able to do it because they are the dictator on whether or not you continue your education or you're gone or you're going to play or not. They're the gatekeeper of the whole thing. But there's NFL coaches that can't adjust, that just hard nose or whatever, and it doesn't fit. I mean, you've seen a lot of people go up to New England who are good players who just can't do it because of the way Bill Belichick operates. Now that we're hearing more stories about Belichick, it seems like he can adjust too if he has to because he's the greatest coach of all time. He takes players' initiative and stuff like that. But I think that is what makes a coach good. And that's what makes a coach great. If he can figure out how to get the best out of somebody. Like, for instance, I don't want to say I'm anything like Michael Jordan, anything like it. But Tom McMahon knew that if he came out and talked a bunch to me, like it was going to get me going. Like that is exactly what he did. So he's 5'2", right? This little guy. He's a fiery guy. It seems like he's on meth all the time. I mean, I don't know. You'd have to tell me if your dad's on meth or not. He's always high energy. And then he would like see me or whatever, and he would come over and he would just come poke the bear. And every single time, as soon as the practice was over, he's like, "Oh, I love it when I piss you off. Oh, I love it." It's like he knew that that's what got me though. Like every single day, he was challenging me every single day. For Vinatieri now, right? Vinatieri's 40 years old. He still wants to be coached. Like Vinatieri still wants to be coached. So Tom had to do it differently with him, right? Couldn't just come out and talk trash to him, but had to be like, hey, you seem to be doing this the last time and now you're doing this. It's just like that ability to adjust and read your player is paramount in success whenever you're a coach. We don't have to get to a break.
How often in those situations where they are butting heads does the player actually win? Like, does the coach end up getting like fired or?
Well, be who you can afford to be, right? Aaron
true.
and Coach McCarthy. Aaron Rodgers was at the point where he was done, right? Where they get rid of Aaron or they keep Mike McCarthy. Now Mike McCarthy's there. It's happened on plenty of occasions though, where the star player and the coach don't get along. And it's like normally you're paying the star player a couple $100 million. And you're playing the coach $3 to $4 million. Let's assume that we can find another coach that can come in here and get this guy. We're not going to be able to find another one of these guys.
Is that just as prevalent for like position coaches too? If a guy doesn't like him, just like, hey, get this guy the hell out of here.
Normally the position I don't want to take too many shots, but there's a lot of bad coaches in the NFL that are position coaches because they're friends with people, but they might be good morale people, right? So like maybe this particular coach doesn't need to be the greatest coach because the offense coordinator will handle this position anyways. But hey, this guy brings the energy every single day. He's a guy that can kind of get things done. He can run a scout team well, and he's friends with said guy because all coaching is networking. I mean, it's all as soon as you see one guy get a job, normally it's like, okay, we know who's going to go there. Just like Bruce Arians said whenever he came back to Tampa Bay, he said the job was open. He said he liked Jameis, by the way, since high school, and his entire staff was free, which was his guys were all free. So they're like, all right, let's go swan song in Tampa. So that's a big deal. But normally if the star player and the coach do not get along in the NFL, normally it's going to tend towards the player because the thought is we could find another coach to do that. We're not going to be able to find another player.
Similar to coach and GM, it's normally going to go towards
GM. But here it didn't. Right?
Yeah.
Chuck got to stick around one more year after the GM got
for a little
fired.
because there are certain situations and everything.
But that was just a lame duck season. Everybody knew Chuck was just a literally sitting duck right there at that point. Like, yeah, you're going to coach for another year here, I guess, but this seems about right.
In college with like Pat White or any of that, did they do anything?
No, college is a complete different animal.
Yeah.
College is a complete different animal. That's why talking to Neil Brown and Napier and Satterfield is so interesting because it feels like they have, like we're about our players' input and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, I would assume the teams that are at the top of the mountain on a very regular basis. Not a lot of players giving input. If I had to guess, I'm not 100% sure. I'm not 100% sure. Maybe Coach O. Coach O seems like a guy who's maybe taking players' input. I mean, he's stone cold in Red Bulls right before games, taking shirts off and stuff. He seems like a guy who probably listens to players. But I'm not sure Saban's like, hey, Tua, what? But Tua did talk himself into staying in that game, allegedly. Yep. So maybe there is a little bit more of the give and take now in 2020. But Pat, I mean, I would assume Pat could suggest something if he wanted to, but it felt as if the environment that old Rich Rod was creating was, so you guys just show up, okay? Yeah. Hope I don't kill you and leave.
No special treatment, then.
No. Pat almost got it worse, which is awesome, and that's why Pat was such a good leader, because he was able to just sit there and act like, yeah, this is normal. I'm a Heisman candidate, just getting bossed around right now. Radio ends in 3 seconds. We continue on YouTube in 1. We'll see you on the other side. We're clear. Welcome back. Pat, by the way, had to call up a lot of the time, right? And he was expected to do exactly the same as us. And that's why Pat had everybody's respect, too, because he didn't ask for anything special treatment. Normally, the guys that are asking for special treatment, by the way, probably not people you want on your team.
Well, I wasn't sure even if they just are giving it. Like if Herbert last year at Oregon, like if he had to, if he wasn't feeling good or something.
Did you just say Herbert? You said Herbert was getting special treatment?
No,
wow. Herbert's friend of ours.
The Prince of Oregon, the kid from Eugene. Wow. If he had maybe a tummy ache or something, maybe the coach would say, you know what, Justin, sit down.
Christopher Williams in the comment section says Coach O was a psychopath when he was in Oxford. Okay. Not 100% sure what that means. You can't kill a woodpecker. They're protected under Migratory Bird Treaty Act. It is pecking your window because it sees its reflection. It's a territory issue. Let's go Mountaineer. Somebody just tweeted me. I can't kill the woodpecker that has just been blasting through all of my windows at my house.
Says who? Some act?
People don't find out.
What's that, Ty?
That says who? This act? I mean, this guy he drew first blood.
So you make it look like an accident.
Self-defense.
No, listen, this woodpecker is a flying toddler, okay? I'm not 100% sure that I could win in a fight. This woodpecker...
No, I wasn't talking fists.
You're talking about birdshot.
Yeah, you're taking this thing down.
The only thing... Well, my lady's feeding a raccoon that's the size of a fucking bear.
You are playing with fire, my friend.
She's feeding this raccoon on the back. I mean, this son of a bitch came out whenever the sun was going down last night, and as the sun was coming up this morning, just in our backyard, just literally just... little hands, just grubby little trash panda hands, just digesting all this food that's supposed to be for the squirrels. By the way, the squirrels live inside my ceiling. So my lady's trying to feed these squirrels. They're getting all fat. You know what they're going to do? Through the fucking ceiling that I'm sleeping in the middle of the night. Now I got a squirrel landing on me with his big old nuts.
You don't want that.
Don't want that.
You got a pet squirrel?
The safari is getting out of control at the house. This raccoon is the biggest raccoon I've ever seen in my entire life. And it's got big old nipples, too, so that means there's babies around. So those raccoons are going to be the biggest. They already got good genetics with this big-ass mom that they have. Now Sam's just pumping them full of GMOs.
You might as well move out.
Jeez.
I'm already just a guest there. It's a fucking safari. It's a zoo. Let's go to the phones.
Hey, I did some...
They're not social distancing. In Montreal, Fonz, what's going on?
Hey, man, thanks for having me. Can we get a quick shout-out to Super Bowl champ Laurent Duvant-Tardif, who 6 weeks after winning the Super Bowl has been a doctor in Quebec, curing, helping coronavirus victims since then.
Bonjour, ça va, by the way, Fonz.
Oh, merci beaucoup.
Oh, yeah, ça va. Yeah. Come see.
And so my question for you, Pat, is, right now, the draft order is chosen by the 20 teams that don't make the playoffs are rewarded by worst team to first. But why are we promoting losing in the best sport ever? Shouldn't it go the
2A Trey Stupid? They're not promoting losing, by the way. You're promoting a Super Bowl champion. They just lose. Now, granted, he's talking about a suck for luck campaign, like potentially the Jacksonville Jaguars are in the middle of, or people thought the Dolphins were last year. They still put up 5 wins or whatever. I don't think you're promoting. The only time you're getting promoted is during the draft, and nobody says that you're outright going to win the draft. A real promotion is winning the Super Bowl. So it's not like The NBA, I feel like they literally reward it because you get a higher percentage to potentially win the lottery and you see it a lot more. I don't think the NFL is rewarding it. I think they're trying to create parity amongst their teams, which is probably a smart move to keep the league moving because there's a lot of other leagues that ain't got no parity. Shout out to the NHL.
What about him?
Well, Gary Bettman came out and said, hey, listen, we're moving forward with this damn season. There has not even been a thought of cancellation.
Yeah, to be honest, I think he's lying a little bit.
What?
Whoa.
But great statement.
Not your commissioner.
Great statement, good spin.
Hey, Gary Bettman, right? Notoriously bad commissioner.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's a bad
Not the
commissioner.
best, yeah.
Not great. Not loved by the fans.
No, certainly
Players
not.
hate him. Everybody hates this guy. But he has come out with a good statement here saying canceling season, not even something I'm contemplating.
Yeah. I'm thinking they kicked it around a time or two. But it's good to hear that they're trying to make it work.
30 seconds.
Yeah, I don't know. Something's weird with this time now. Don, can you fill us in?
It's early.
Well, nobody can hear Dawn, so.
I usually put my ear to the thing.
Oh, yeah, true. I feel like this break has gotten much shorter.
Oh, it has.
Anyways, we're back in 15 seconds on radio, so everybody get your fucks out now, okay?
Fuck.
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 All right. Emmett, don't say it, Emmett. You're
Fudge.
a child. Attaboy, Zeke. Good morning, beautiful people. It is Wednesday, May 13th, and you're watching The Pat McAfee Show at youtube.com/The Pat McAfee Show or listening along on your Westwood One radio station. Also, CBS Sports Radio, and we are thankful to be having a great time in your car, your house, maybe your truck, or your office, or bedroom, or living room, and maybe even kitchen when you're getting down on some snacks in the middle of said quarantine. A lot of talk about it in the sports world, and joining us here in just a couple minutes is insider for the NBA from The Athletic, Shams Charania. We will talk about the NBA potentially getting back into order and having a bracket-like tournament in either Las Vegas or Orlando. And it seems as if Adam Silver, the commissioner of the NBA, who has once said that I do not want to say anything indefinite, has been making definite type statements. In the next 2 to 4 weeks, they will decide whether or not the season will continue. By June, they will have an outright decision. They had never had a timetable before that. Optimism is creeping into the NBA. Speaking of optimism, I'm a little bit optimistic that Mark Cuban could be joining us within the next couple days. Not 100% sure, but the Shark Tank guru, business god from Pittsburgh to Indiana, now obviously the Mavericks owner and a man that we watch on television negotiating deals to make small business dreams come true, could potentially be joining the show because I misquoted him yesterday.
Yeah!
Now,
Yeah!
the MLB is potentially getting back. Hockey said they're getting back. The NFL says they're getting back. And California says that the stay-at-home orders have been extended 3 months and that fall semesters will not be happening on campuses. Will the SEC, Big 12, and the Big 10 say, you know what, since some of the Pac-12 cannot operate in the fashion that we can, will we hold off a season because they can't do it? What happens in New York and Massachusetts for the NFL? It seems like they're going to be on lockdown for much longer than here in the middle of America. Will the LA teams have to leave LA and maybe go to San Antonio or back to St. Louis or some of these other cities? There's a lot to be figured out in the next 3 months, and we'll be here every step of the way. We can't thank you enough. Joining me at Nick Moraldo's on the ones and twos, playing hack music in and out of the radio breaks. At Tone Diggs is here. Ty Schmidt is here. Just learned in the last hour from Ted Ginn Jr. that the Green Bay Packers made 0 attempts to sign him in his 14th year, 35 years of age, still can take the top off of a defense. They made 0 attempts in signing him, Ty Schmidt.
Yeah, we got a bunch of stooges running the franchise. I mean, we've known that.
Gunther Kuntz, quite a dummy it seems like, but maybe this will all work out in the end. One person who gets on television and talks says that he thinks Jordan Love will win more championships for the Green Bay Packers than Aaron Rodgers.
Fool.
Jason McAfee's here, Viva Lazito's here, Evan Foxy's here, and thanking the Blue Angels on the phones, 1-833-622-3331, who just put a gopher head on at Boston Connor.
You took away the element of surprise.
All right. And on the couch, how'd the gopher... You wore that for what, less than a minute and a half in the last hour? Is it very inconvenient?
No, I wore it for most of the hour. I'm not sure what you're talking about, but it is about 1,000 degrees up here in this thing.
How do you feel about the Blue Angels' performance yesterday? There are some people in the office who said it wasn't as desirable as they thought it was going to be.
Look, I don't know who in the office said that.
Ty Schmidt.
Ty, I mean, I don't know what he saw. I don't know what Bill saw.
Bailey McComas.
I don't know what Lord Tube saw. I just know that it wasn't the right thing because the Blue Blue Angels were magnificent.
And they were electrifying. They buzzed a couple buildings. They did the 2 laps around the entire state of Indiana, and then were back in Pensacola an hour and a half later. They were flying in a formation that Connor accurately predicted. It was a beautiful show, Connor, and I think you and I both thank the Blue Angels for not only the trails that they left behind their planes, but for what their planes did while giving us all a show, and thanking the frontline nurses and doctors who've been battling against this bitch COVID-19.
The Blue Angels represent America better than anybody in a Yankees uniform ever could. So I'm just glad that they did.
I mean, that's like comparing apples to oranges. I was a big Blue Angels fan. I just said, I simply said, stop throwing me the off-speed stuff. Give me the fastball. All right, I want to see them jackknifing down the center of town. Okay, very low, and I wanted to hear some supersonic sounds. I didn't hear any of those. It was very quiet.
They're not trying to kill people.
They're trying to say,
what I wanted to see.
They're trying to say thanks, okay, to the nurses and doctors. Hey, thanks for what you've been doing. Let me buzz a building, do a lap around town, come back over to the center of town, and you, for some reason, that isn't the destroyer planes that I want to see.
They were in first gear.
Yeah, what do you want them to do? Hop down to 5th real quick?
Yes.
Are they trying to kill more people or thank people?
Ty.
You know what? I'm not advocating that we kill anyone, but maybe we get some weapons testing out there just to let people know the kind of power that the Blue Angels possess.
You were calling for missiles in the buildings yesterday, Ty.
Yeah, no one's in those buildings.
It's true.
That will be a good time.
They're all out on the street, by the way, not practicing social distancing. We're talking about Indiana is wide open right now, as is, I think, a lot of middle of America. The only places that aren't are universities, and we had a guy who had to take 3 finals yesterday, and he says he passed all of them. Intern Emmett is back. How is it going, Emmett?
Going very well.
We didn't do your minutes. We didn't do your minutes for the first hour, so you're going to have to figure out what to edit out for the second hour, what's going to make the cut. Emmett's minutes is something that we all look forward to on a very regular basis, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, whenever the intern isn't in school learning nothing, learning Greek and Latin. He is in here writing down things that we talk about because we forget everything we talk about during the show. Is that accurate?
Yes.
And you got an A in Greek and Latin yesterday.
Yes, I did.
How about that other one that sounded impossible that you read on the show?
Yeah.
That one is due Thursday and is coming along. It's a work in progress.
He's up
So
all
you've
night
started
tonight.
it. You've looked at it again.
This is playing Madden. I mean, it's absolutely unbelievable.
Big Mitt.
Okay, we got Shams Charania, insider from The Athletic, joining us in about 5-6 minutes to talk about the NBA. Seems very optimistic about rolling out the last season. We should probably call him now. Let's see if he answers. Because I think the NBA and Adam Silver have been very, very conservative on this entire thing. They have not given out any projections. They did not say what they're expecting to do. They've said, let's wait and see what happens. Let's wait until May. Let's wait until this. Adam Silver and that council of owners and their executive committee, it feels like they have been really ahead of the game whenever they're like, we want to make sure we get everything right before we say anything. We don't want to give any false hope to anybody. We don't want to give any false pessimism to anybody. We want to make sure we know what we're talking about. Mark Cuban has come out and said, hey, I did not say I want the season scrapped. I just want to be able to do it in a smart, safe fashion. I assume Adam Silver's thinking the same thing. Now, after a call yesterday, it feels as if a lot of the players are on the same narrative as him. Chris Paul, LeBron James, a bunch of other folks have already talked. Kawhi, they've all said they want the season to come back. It feels as if there's a lot of optimism from the NBA folks, and that means that potentially the most electric NBA March Madness bracket-style tournament could still happen. Joining us now, insider from The Athletic, a man who knows things before everybody else knows things, the handsome Shams Charania.
Yeah, Sean!
Attaboy, Shams!
Appreciate the introduction as always, brother.
Hey, no problem. You're centered on your triangles this time. I appreciate that. It was making me a little bit dizzy the last time, Shams. Let's get right to it. You're breaking a lot of news on your Twitter feed at Shams Charania. You're doing a lot of things in the last couple of days. It feels as if, and we might be wrong here, you know more than us, it feels like this NBA Biodome-like tournament is probably going to happen if it has the ability to happen. Am I wrong in saying that?
The key words that you just said, if it has the ability to happen. Like, at the end of the day, you know, I spoke to several owners that were on that call yesterday, and the biggest point is we need to make sure that there are enough tests available. And at the end of the day, science will be able to dictate whether they have a season or not. And, you know, Adam Silver put a 2 to 4 week timetable on his decision, so he's willing to take till up until mid-June. And I think they want the owners, everyone around the league wants to know at the end of the day, will there be a season or do they have to scrap it and start to go into, you know, a virtual draft, a virtual combine? Sorry, guys, I get a text. You see, this is what happens when you're doing live events.
No, is it important? Hold on. If that's an important text, you go ahead. If Adam Silver just texted you, you go ahead and you read it.
It was not important. Okay. It was not important. It was someone's talking about a trip to Disney if there's a season in Disney, but who knows if that will be the case.
All right, question though I have for you. It feels like Adam Silver and the NBA have been the most conservative on their projections. They have not come out. They said, hey, we're going to wait. Adam Silver said, don't expect to hear anything until May. Now he's saying we'll push this back 2 to 4 weeks, maybe to mid-June. It feels like they have been the most conservative league. We're not giving out any false hope. We're not going to do anything until we can see all of the information that we need. Now, it feels as if there's a growing sense of optimism. Am I wrong in thinking that there is like an optimism? It seems like the players, LeBron, Chris Paul, the boys, they want to do it, which I thought they were potentially not going to want to do it. It seems like the owners maybe want it to happen. Does it feel like there's a real trend in an optimistic fashion towards this potentially happening?
I think there's two things. There's always been a majority of owners, league office personnel, star players, executives that have been hopeful that they can resume the season because everyone understands the ramifications that would take place if there is no season. There's CBA ramifications with the collective bargaining agreement. There's like billions of dollars at stake if the NBA does not play this season. At the end of the day, that's the bottom line. And so you factor that in, and another factor that's becoming into play is just the understanding of this might be our new normal. It might simply be the new normal that we have to deal with players testing positive and being able to resume our day-to-day activities despite that. And at the end of the day, what types of risk factors is the NBA going to be comfortable with? Adam Silver told players on Friday, he said it again to the owners on Tuesday, how much risk are we going to be able to be dealing with and okay dealing with when we do resume play, whether it's now or in the fall or the winter? Adam Silver told owners yesterday, at the end of the day, the risks are probably going to be the same if we resume come Christmas time next season anyway.
Okay, so was there any thought that the UFC had an event this weekend? Was there any talk about how they had somebody test positive and they still went forward? I think the WWE, I'm not sure they had anybody test positive, but they had people getting tested before they were coming into the Performance Center to do the show. Is that kind of the method they're thinking? Like, listen, we could potentially have to deal with somebody having a positive, and we just have to get them away from everybody and continue forward in the fashion the UFC did and many of others probably have. Is that something they looked at and said, you know what, maybe this does lend a hand to us coming back more than we think?
I think the NBA has looked at the UFC. I think they've looked at every other organization out there. And Adam Silver has had a lot of discussions with Rob Manfred with the MLB and different commissioners just trying to come up with the protocol on. That's the biggest question. That's the most elusive question that everyone has. What happens if a player tests positive again when you return? That's what shut down the NBA to begin with on March 11th. That's what has led to the shutdown of our nation is our tests. People testing positive for the coronavirus, and the ability to withstand a positive test, multiple positive tests, and still go on with your league, continue to have daily testing, remove that player or personnel in isolation and quarantine. And then, Adam Silver, I think, would still have a 2-day break for the league if a player or person tests positive. And I think the protocols and the understanding that this is going to be our new normal is going to be important if the NBA does come back this season.
What you said in your last answer before I diverted away from it, whenever you said that they said they think that the risk is going to be the same as it is in Christmas as it is now. They feel like this is just going to be potentially the way it goes. Have you heard that from like owners? Is that what Adam Silver exactly said? Like, hey, if we decide to come back, there's going to be risks. But I have a feeling there's going to be risks in Christmas, maybe potentially next spring. Like there's going to be we're just going to have to figure out whether or not what time we feel safe enough to roll back into this thing. And this thing's always going to be looming overhead. Is that what he said?
Right. It's the unknown. It's the fact that this may be the exact same risk factor, if not worse, now as it will be in the fall or the winter. At the end of the day, obviously the NBA just doesn't know. And so when you're dealing with the risk and the unknown of this virus, that's what's caused this delay. That's what's caused this pause in all of our lives. And so the NBA is now going to use the next 2 to 4 weeks, find out if the risk factors are worth trying to play. But again, there's so much financial implications in play that it's going to be tough to just fully scrap the season. I think players, owners, they all want to see if there's a way like you mentioned, in a bubble atmosphere if they're able to continue. And again, like what Adam Silver made clear on Friday and again on Tuesday is that this bubble atmosphere wouldn't be a medical bubble. Players, personnel could still potentially leave that environment, the playing grounds environment, but then would have to come back and upon re-entry have to be retested. And I think having the ability to test all these people, you're going to need a lot of testing. And I think that's what the NBA is going to try to figure out over the next month.
Yeah, because AJ Hawk and I talked about this last week on McAfee and Hawk Sports Talk. We thought that there was a chance that, a lot of these guys enjoy having sex. So they're going to lock them down for a month and then just expect no potential thought choppers to come in there. So the thought that they're allowed to leave said biodome and then come back is good for the sport, I think, by the way. It's good for the sport of basketball. Does it feel like Disney World is where this is going to go down? Because you just got a text saying, hey, are we going to Orlando? It has already been public saying Orlando or Vegas will be the place because they have enough hotels and they have enough facilities to house it. Is that kind of the direction it seems like they're trending? And will it be a bracket-style tournament like March Madness?
So to answer your second question, I don't think the NBA fully knows what type of format they want to do. Are they just going to eliminate the non-playoff teams and say, listen, we're done with it, just the top 8? You're going to have the best of 7 just like they do normally out of the 16 teams. Are you going to do that? Or are you going to do a play-in tournament for seeds 7 to 10 and allow there to be some kind of excitement going into a playoff and have a play-in tournament with those teams and allow the teams in the 9 and 10 seed, the Kings or the Wizards or Zion Williamson to have an opportunity to play in the playoffs. So they still have not decided. To answer your first question, I don't know if there's a front runner. Vegas, there's a lot of history with the NBA in Vegas come summertime. There's a lot of luxury that exists in Vegas with the hotels that these star players are accustomed to. Would star players be okay going into Disney World? I think that's something you have to factor in as well. I think the NBA does view Disney World as more of a safer potential ground because it is closed off, whereas Vegas, there's a lot more ability to move and spread around. But listen, at the end of the day, wherever these players are going to be, it's not like it's going to be a free-for-all. Everything is open. Society is going to be what it's been for all our lives.
That would be so awesome to watch. If they just go back-to-back-to-back nights for like 3 weeks, it would be
AAU basketball.
Oh, it's exactly like they've been doing their entire lives, basically. I mean, it would be, plus other teams sitting in the stands watching. I mean, it would be cool to watch LeBron sitting there watching another couple teams. I mean, it would just be, it'd be electric. And I would assume that they're having those conversations among the owners and the players like, hey, we have a chance to create something here that has never happened before, that'll be remembered forever. And just like Greeny said on Get Up, the asterisks that Charles Barkley talks about and Shaq talks about, even though they said it's dangerous, but also the asterisks about how it's not real. I think the asterisks will be a good one. Like, hey, you remember in 2020 when the world shut down, then we won a championship out there in Las Vegas and somehow managed to stay away from the bottle service girls long enough to get our team focused in there. I mean, that is a real thing. Last question before we let you go. Shams, you're incredible, by the way. I appreciate you for doing this. Has anybody talked to Zion, and what weight is he at? Has he used this quarantine to change his body completely? And now that he's getting sued by China, where's Zion coming out of this thing? Is he going to be bigger, badder, and better than ever, I hope?
I saw he did an interview with, the NBA social media feed the other week, and he said if he had to go out there and play now, he's in shape, that he's ready to go, that he could play. So, my understanding is that he's been staying in shape. He's been, preparing his body and his form for if there's going to be a play-in tournament, if there's going to be a finality to this regular season, whatever the case may be. Zion Williamson has been in whatever quarantine gym he has working.
I'm amazed that you were able to cut your own hair like that. I'm going to let you know. Every time you come on here, you look fresh. Doesn't it, Shams? Shams look fresh every time you come on.
It's just for your show, Pat. That's all it's for. And then I just go back and grow everything out again.
Well, you look great. You sound great. And we appreciate the hell out of you. Ladies and gentlemen, senior NBA insider for The Athletic, Shams Charania.
Yeah!
Attaboy, Shams!
Big Shams!
Attaboy, Shams. You too, pal. This is interesting.
Yeah. Feels like no one knows.
Need that play-in tournament.
That's what that was my
Need
question was going to
that.
be like, what's the format when we get back? What are we cutting teams out? Is it just going to be the top 16? Like, what are we doing?
Very legitimate statement there by Connor, too. It feels like nobody has a clue what the hell's going to happen.
Correct.
But it feels like there's some optimism spewing, not only on our streets, but also in these conversations. It feels like there's some optimism. Now, not in California, New York, and those places we very much hate that is happening, but it feels like there's optimism in a lot of other places. In the desert, remember the Las Vegas mayor said, hey, we'll be a guinea pig for the rest of the world. Open this sumbitch back up. Let's get these pool parties going. To Vegas. So Vegas would be open. High society. They have the ability to house everybody in penthouses and stuff that people would want, I'd assume. You're not going to put LeBron down there in a $20 motel, I'd assume. Not going to be able to pull that off.
In the proposal, I believe it was from MGM, who has like the 3 hotels at the end of the south side of the strip or whatever, who put up for like the Vegas showcase every single year, said that they could put 20 courts in their convention center and house them all in those 3 or 4 hotels or whatever, and still have like table games and stuff open for the players and the restaurants and stuff like that.
So it's going to be in Vegas.
Sounds like it.
Sounds like it's going to be in Vegas. Let's go ahead and lock in Vegas play-in tournament for teams 7 to 10. Shout out Zion getting some game, and then obviously the playoffs running out there while they're in their own little world. Can't wait for it. The asterisks are going to be a big one. It's going to be like, this is the most awesome championship of all time. Shout out to Shams for joining us, and shout out to the world for literally not knowing a single thing that's going to happen tomorrow. 19 minutes after the hour, we got to get to a break on radio. I have to go to the bathroom. We will have Alan Quay Shipley, our Arizona insider, joining us at some point this year. This hour. Arizona said Major League Sports are allowed to open back up in this town. You want to come out to the desert? Huh? Major League Sports are welcome here. Amateur stuff, get the hell out. Major League Sports are welcome here. We'll talk to him about how it's been going out in the desert. We'll also chit-chat about everything else happening, take some phone calls and some YouTube questions. This is Wednesday, May 13th. You're listening to the Pat McAfee Show. Attaboy, Z. There's a grown man with face paint on. So you're Big Nut.
I am, and you're Little Nut.
Well, I've had a few of those in my life. Hey, I'll tell you what, Big Nut. I hope to find you one day on my wedding night. Big Nut!
Little Nut!
You did a great job, too. The lines are straight. No DUI problem there. You're really doing a great job here, sir. Hey, Big Nut, I love everything you're about, bud.
Because we are going to win the game.
He just spit in my mouth while saying that. The most likely team to make the college football playoff is the team that is in Columbus. He said khakis are way too close to that team from up north. If you don't put black pants on right now, you're going to get booed out of Columbus. So I went with the black. Makes me look thin. And whenever I say 2 letters, the place goes crazy. O-H! Yeah! Ladies and gentlemen, Eddie George. That offense, though, led by Justin Fields. He has 41 touchdowns accounted for, only 1 turnover. I don't know how he isn't the Heisman favorite right now.
Well, he certainly has a chance to make a stick at that today, certainly next week.
He's supposed to be a Penn State native Lion. And Mike McQueary told me I wasn't Penn State material.
Okay, Herbie was your quarterback. He was a senior. You were a freshman. What was he like as a teammate?
Oh, he was great, man. Big shoulder pads. Kurt could run for days back in the day.
We have a guy that can break every single bone in my body. Steve, how you doing, boss man? They're down 6-1. She wants to flex on the gram. He says, lady, we are getting slaughtered by the Pittsburgh Penguins. No.
Do I do a chair? I thought I need to do this.
Let's get it. Let's go. Dream house is a tour bus. Scream loud that you knew us. Deep down on the new plug. You ain't about to get too dust. Pete's frown when they crew scrubs. Sweet sound from the 2 subs. Beats loud as a move, bruh. Lead the crowd like, ooh, what? Long hair on the big body. 210s, both sitting shoddy. Crack a fist, start getting rowdy. Blowing nose, looking like an Audi. It's Uncle Sam, but without the taxes. Crowd stands up, I keep them loud. I made this beat, you hear it smacking? Who is 30? Hand me a nap. You probably wasn't expecting expect the Knicks?
What expected?
God damn it!
Welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show. 24 minutes after the hour. We'll be joined in 15 minutes by Alan Quay Shipley, last year's starting center for the Arizona Cardinals, who is now an old white officially and will be retiring in Phoenix. He has not retired from football, but he will be living in the desert for the rest of his life, as most old whites potentially do. Arizona governor opened up yesterday and said, hey, major sports are allowed back in town whenever they want. Does that mean the MLB is going to get going out there in Arizona? Potentially. What's the curve going to do? Is that thing going flat or that thing going spiked? I guess we shall learn. From our previous conversations with Alan Quay Shipley, FaceTimes, Arizona has not stopped at all.
No.
They have been Johnny Manziel was doing backflips off of cliffs in Arizona just yesterday.
Yep.
By the way, did not know there was that body of water in the middle of the desert. Kind of interesting to me to find out and learn about that you can cliff dive in Arizona. I'm a big.
Was it Lake Havasu?
It might have been Lake Havasu.
He was having a great time, but Arizona has not slowed down at all. And now the governor has come out and said, now granted, they might have. That is quite a generalization, but every time we FaceTime with AQ, he's out and about, bebopping around town, and he is surrounded by humans, and none of them have a mask on. So Arizona has officially opened. Indianapolis, Indiana, I believe, starting in 2 days, is about to be pretty much back open. 50% capacity for places, 25 people gathering. There's a lot of rules that they're kind of rolling into. I think we're in phase 3 now, or potentially phase 4 of moving into. It feels like a lot of the world. Now, granted, I know there's some negativity in California, and we feel bad for you. In New York, we are so sorry that you guys had to battle against this, but a lot of these states acting as individual, obviously the United States of America, the government, a lot of these states are kind of roll back into things, and that will be a big decision that the NCAA, conferences, the NFL, the NBA, the MLB, and all these people that are much smarter and paid a lot more than us are going to have to figure out.
Texas not really being in the news probably good, right? Because if they were in the news, then it'd be only for negative things.
Texas said green flag racing a week and a half ago. Okay, that's what they said. They said, we are back. We will. And by the way, a lot of people have said the 2 states that would try to break off and have independence from America are who? Texas and California. Now, Texas decided to open up, a week and a half ago or whatever. Yeah. We have not heard anything about it. Have their numbers spiked or gone down? We don't know. Since we haven't heard, let's assume that it hasn't gotten insane and death rates haven't just gone through the roof. And California is going to be living in a much different world, I think, than the rest of America is going to be living in. This is a wild time to be alive. They'll write books about it, and I hope that the book will read that we played it right. That's what I hope. I just hope that everybody, and it's not going to happen. It's not. No. There's no chance of it happening. Nope. But I hope somehow, some way, that the book will read 20 years from now, that the way insert name of league here handled it properly, and we got back to normal as fast as we possibly can. Where are the NFL teams going to go? They're going to go San Antonio, St. Louis, Wyoming, Utah? Where are they headed? What about the Pac-12 teams that aren't in California? Are they going to continue to try to play if California shut down and the rest of the world tries to start back up? What about that? Who knows? A lot of question marks. Just talked to Sham Charania. It feels as if the NBA is coming back to Las Vegas. I'll say it. Wednesday, May 13th, 2020, the NBA will be having a tournament in Las Vegas to finish out last season, and then they will immediately go into the next season after that with their draft and free agency and move forward. And the asterisks that'll be around the champion that wins this tournament in the Biodome in Sin City, Las Vegas, will be known as the team that through all the distractions and through all of the lockdown were able to maintain their fitness level, their competitive drive, and their touch on their shots and their team wherewithal to become the champions of a time that nobody thought there would be champions. And I can't wait to watch that happen. And we will cover it right here. YouTube.com/DPAT.
Basketball's back!
Basketball's back!
Basketball's back! Basketball's back!
When? Nobody knows. Let's go to Wyatt in Wisconsin. Oh, Wyatt. Wyatt. Oh, Wyatt. Oh, how's it going, Wyatt?
Good. How are you doing, Pat?
Well, what, are you saving all your good questions for Rich Eisen's show? I watched.
Oh, you heard about that?
Oh, yeah. It was much better than the crap you bring to this show, too. A lot more energy for Rich than he gives to us, Wyatt.
Hell. Oh, what do you want from me, Pat?
I want a little bit more energy, Wyatt. I want the question that Rich Eisen's getting from 14-year-old Wyatt in Wisconsin on this show, Wyatt.
Okay. Pat, my question today is, who is the scariest person to go up against in the Oklahoma drill?
Troy Polamalu. Great question. Great question, Wyatt. He brought it. 14-year-old
That's a
kid.
good question.
He's currently in quarantine, just getting on every show, and I respect it. I respect it a lot because it takes a lot to get through our line. A lot of people call. A lot of people call, and Wyatt has figured out a way. He might be young Billy Tubes back there cracking into our mainframe.
He's got something.
He's got it. He does got it. Why?
He's got future in this business.
It.
Oh, smart.
Can't spell Wyatt without it.
Oh,
can't do it.
It factor.
That's why you are who you are, my friend.
You see that? See what I did there? Fun fact, I have been a part of a couple of Oklahoma drills.
Really?
Yep. Had success in them, too.
Ooh.
They had me run the ball. It depends on what version of Oklahoma drill, by the way. There's a lot of the Oklahoma drill has completely evolved. Now, granted, there's still the bull in the ring or whatever they call it, where two people in there, you stand up and you hit each other. That's like, I think, the old school Oklahoma. Yeah. It evolved into an offensive lineman, defensive lineman, tight end, running back versus linebacker versus running back or trying to run through. That was a drill that I was a part of one time because we weren't stopping the drill until the defense got a stop. And our entire skill position just was skirting through. It seemed like the defense was taking the day off. And I got tossed a rock and said, "Can you stop this guy?" Heads up. Can't.
Nope. Not today.
1 for 1. And a bunch. And no offense to these guys. Like, guys that aren't on scholarship, you need some of them to show up and make plays for your team, right? You need guys. Mm-hmm. But they had me running against guys that were smaller than me playing linebacker. I mean, what do you want? I was strength and condition All-American. You get into Hornets Nest, by the way, pal.
Gonna get stung.
You think the murder hornet's bad? Wait till you get one of bang! Oh, pow! Now that means my blocking was terrible, and it was, but I got it. Let's go to Twig in North Carolina. What up, Twig? Is that because you're a skinny man?
Pat, it is not because I'm a skinny man. I can assure you that.
Oh, big body. All right.
How you doing, bud? Love you.
Long hair with a big body. Let's go. Twig, we love you too, pal.
Mike, I don't want to bore you guys with my question. Hope the boys are doing good. Just wanted to say thank you guys for doing what you do. I love it. And my question is, which coach do you think enters the NFL season on the hottest hot seat?
Ooh.
Like that, Twig.
That's a really, really good question. And let me delay strictly because I have to figure out the right answer. And Connor just gave a big old point to Zito, and I think that would be the accurate assessment. Whoa. I think Matt Nagy and the Chicago Bears are potentially on a very, very hot seat. They were good a couple years ago. Then all of a sudden, last year, they fall off of the earth completely. Now Nagy brings in another quarterback for good, healthy competition, which is obviously a sign of Ryan Pace and Nagy coming to an agreement like, hey, we need a little bit more out of old Mitchell Trubisky. Matt Nagy's recruiting Ted Ginn to come to the team. He has a lot invested. He knows that if he doesn't have success this year, he's probably at one-way trip to out of town, pal. And also, our guy, Matt Patricia, not only was he on a hot seat last year, I think I think he was rather surprised that he maybe got a chance to give it another go. But the Detroit Lions, 8-9 games last year, they had to lead. What if the Lions come out and go 10-6, 11-5 in that NFC North, who the king of the NFC North just tried to make their head quarterback or their number one quarterback franchise player as mad as possible? What if there's dissension in the ranks in Green Bay? What if Big Richard, Nick Foles, comes in and swings that thing on Mitchell and there's divisive in Chicago? What if the Vikings and Kirk Cousins somehow lose it, which I don't think they are. I think they're going to be much better, and they got very good at the end of the season when primetime Kirk Cousins was born. They lose. Obviously, Stephon Diggs, but bringing in an absolute weapon, Justin Jefferson. And what if the Detroit Lions are at the top of the NFC North? And I'll tell you what, if they're not, probably Matt Patricia's last year as a head coach for the Detroit Lions as well. So I visit straight to the NFC North and say, hey, these two coaches probably on the hottest seat. But everybody knows anybody can get it. Nobody thought Ron Rivera was going to get fired last year midseason. He did. Jay Gruden was gone, 2 weeks in, 3 weeks in. I mean, anybody can get it if you're starting to disappoint your fan base on a regular basis, and those two particular teams have in the recent memory.
I have, when I went through the list, maybe 6 more candidates, which is around them. Adam Gase.
Oh, yeah. But I think this is his first year, right? This is his first year, really, without having to be leveraged by the GM's decisions of the past. Remember? They signed Le'Veon Bell with the last GM. They do an entire draft, fire GM. Adam Gase is now in control, get the other GM. I think he has another year, leash. I think he has another year strictly because the salary cap was messed up by the previous GM. But that's a good call, especially in New York City.
Dougie Marrone.
Doug Marrone would have to have success this year. That team, though, is trying to not have success. This could be a house of cards situation, and Doug Marrone's the front door of that thing, and they're just waiting to knock it down. And they're telling them, hey, we'll just lose this year. We'll get a good quarterback. I've seen this done in the past, by the way. I've actually been a part of it. And all these coaches buy in, and front office buys in, and then the owner fires everybody and says, well, we're starting new, pal.
Atlanta Falcons, Dan Quinn.
Yeah, he's for sure on there. You're 100% right. A couple years ago, they were in the Super Bowl. Now they're in the NFC South, which is a buzzsaw week in, week out. And we have no idea what Teddy Bridgewater and McAfee are going to look like in the same backfield.
This is going to be tough because I don't know if you can fire yourself with Billy O'Stitch. Maybe as a GM. GM hot seat.
But does he hire the next GM? How does that work? Billy O'Stitch has set himself up to be able to do whatever the hell he wants with no resume to be able to do whatever the hell he wants. Now, I'm not 100% sure if Billy O'Stooge listens to this show. I've been told that he potentially has heard a few clips and has been entertained, which, by the way, Billy O'Brien, I'm sure we would like you as a human. When they did the behind-the-scenes stuff, he was a cool guy. But the moves he has made and the decisions he has decided to take are not great ones. And you would think that if there was any accountability that guy would potentially be on a hot seat. But they did make the playoffs last year, and they did lose to the Super Bowl champion inevitably. So he probably has a lot saying, like, we're a lot better than people are giving me credit for because I traded away our best wide receiver for a bag of balls.
And then the last one that I had was Kevin Stefanski because,
he's a Browns head coach. Easy come, easy go over there. You become head coach Cleveland. I was told by a prominent NFL coach that you haven't coached in the NFL until you've been fired from Cleveland. Is Kevin Stefanski the next one on that long list of failures for the dog pound? Or is he going to be the one with Andrew Berry, big old brain Andrew Berry GM, that turns that entire thing around? They get a hardworking tight end that they pay a lot of money for. They obviously get OBJ and Jarvis Landry back. Baker Mayfield followed me on Instagram last night, so maybe he's starting to make good decisions. I mean, maybe that team who I picked to win the Super Bowl last year, who I won on national television and defended against a lot of haters who, by the way, they were 100% right, those people, what they were saying. Maybe this is year of Cleveland Browns and the dog pound don't have to wait to chug beers in celebration as opposed to sorrows. This could be the year for the dog pound.
I actually like the Browns this year.
Me too, especially with Myles Garrett coming back off of that, parole. That could be great.
He just traveled to PA yesterday to visit a family that lost everything in a fire. So,
Myles Garrett?
It's nice to him.
Everybody has said, aside from the moment where he tried to murder a human on a football field on primetime television, good guy.
Yeah.
Good guy.
Yeah, they said that about O.J. Simpson, too.
Dude, come on. We got to get to a break in radio. That unbelievable.
Nick.
Jeez Louise.
Slippery Pete.
Our Arizona correspondent joins us on the other side, trying to get rid of that negative mojo. We're going to have to sage this damn thing. We're going to get Sammy Watkins in here to sage out your
It's a
bag.
positive Wednesday.
It is a positive Wednesday, May 13th. We got more news stories than we had yesterday. Hey, maybe try to embrace that a little bit. This is the Pat McAfee Show. My battery's died. I can't hear a thing.
Oh, shit. Hey, Steven, fuck you. And it is off the wall. Don't cut. This is a good at-bat. Hey, nice pitch. I think I just pulled a hammy. Hey. Back. Hey, fuck you, Steven. What inning?
Top of the second.
Jesus. Here comes McAfee. I saw that thing jumping out of the glove. Hey, what was that? Would have been nice to take a nap earlier.
Another throw.
Get back.
First. He's going back on it now. Coming over the center fielder. Harris makes the catch.
Cousin. James. What was that? And the catcher goes, I had to give you one.
1-1 pitch.
Let's go.
Line drive.
Son of a bitch. This is a good at-bat. Oh, in my head, it was like, oh, yeah, you're going to drop this for sure. What the fuck are you even doing here? Why'd we sign up for this? What's going on? It all comes down to this. My last at-bat. Hey, I'm going to get on. You bring me home.
This is your life on the line, fucker.
Let me tell you something. You're going to take an L, okay? You're going to take one. So I think that the close your eyes and swing method is perfect for you.
Oh, this is hardball. Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Jesus. You have no prayer.
All right. Number one, right fielder, Pat McAfee.
Oh, boy.
McAfee at the plate.
Dance with me. Dance with me.
This is a banger. What is this?
Dance with me.
Dance with me. Jesus. I will. Hey, once that beat hit the bones, bro. My God. I was about to say, who has to follow that up?
Can't do it.
Can't do it. Welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show. We'll get the reading by Zito tomorrow. During the break, if you were not following along at youtube.com/The Pat McAfee Show, we heard the greatest hack song in the history of independent music.
Yep.
Kind of got me winded, but can't wait to talk to this guy, our Arizona correspondent, doing exactly what all other old whites do, which is flock to the desert when it's near the end of their career. Last year's starting center for the Arizona Cardinals, he's been on the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Philadelphia Eagles, the Baltimore Ravens, the Indianapolis Colts, and the Arizona Cardinals, and he's a free agent currently. Ladies and gentlemen, Western Pennsylvania Interscholastic Athletic League Hall of Famer, A.Q. Shipley.
Thanks, boys. How we doing?
Not too shabby. How are you out there in Arizona? We do know that your Arizona governor said, hey, I don't know what's going on in all these other states, but Major League Sports can come back to this desert right here. Is that how you're feeling out there? Is the state back and alive out there in Arizona?
Yeah, I mean, it's going back. I mean, I think Monday, restaurants, you're allowed to start going to restaurants again. Obviously, the news with him breaking that yesterday, Major League Sports are back. I think we spoke a little bit yesterday. We decided to move this conversation a little bit to today, but It's going to be quite interesting, man. I mean, I think everybody's got great intentions with trying to move this thing along and getting everything back. But I think once we do get things back, it's like, say 1, 2, 3 guys get it in a locker room, whether it's baseball, football, hockey, whatever it is. Then what do? Then do you shut that team down? Then do you shut the whole league down? Like, it's gonna have to be pretty fluid approach, I think, amongst all leagues. But I think it's great that we're kind of trying to get everything back to at least somewhat normalcy.
Adam Silver addressed that yesterday on the call with the owners. He said, if we do come back, we don't know if the risk is going to be the same now as it is in potentially December. We have no idea what the future is going to hold for us. But if we come back and somebody tests positive, we can't just shut down the thing. We have to keep it moving. So I think everybody knows, like, hey, even if somebody tests positive like they did at the UFC, we can't just shut down everything. We're going to have to keep it moving. And I would assume that they're going to test people on their way into said biodomes. And then if you fail, you're kind of sent out. You're not even allowed to go see your friends. And then once you're in, you kind of get tested every single day. But to get to that point, we have to have enough tests to test everybody. And in football, that's over 100 people at each building. I don't know what the baseball is. It feels like this is one big question mark on whether or not we're going to get back to normalcy.
Well, I've been doing a lot of reading on this thing because obviously
Attaboy.
I wasn't informed as well, I guess, when this whole thing started.
No.
But what I will say is,
For those that don't know, AQ was FaceTime and driving around Phoenix, mouth kissing everybody he could see whenever
Farmers
this whole
market.
thing
He's
started.
a little more buttoned up right now.
good news is, guys, still don't got it. Still don't got it.
You don't know. You have no idea. Yeah, and I think that's the problem, though, is the testing. Like, we don't know who has it, who doesn't have it.
That's one of the things that I read. Like a prominent hospital in Boston says that it's returning 40% tests that whether it's negative and they are positive or whether it's positive and they are negative. So, like, you're getting false tests on 40% of the tests. So I think it's just such a new thing, and we're so kind of just trying to, like, rush this thing. And, I think there's so many people there's so many unknowns with it, and there's so many tests that maybe even aren't, like, perfected yet. So it's like it's just going to have to kind of be, like I said, a fluid motion. We'll see what happens.
False positives, by the way, will kill you in this particular world, and also lie detector tests. They
yeah,
get
almost all worlds, actually.
Yeah.
False pregnancy's the worst.
Congrats on your child looking like an absolute demon, by the way, in all the photos. She is going to be a terror of Arizona, and I can't wait to watch her grow up and be a beautiful lady who is going to be having attitude and an independence about her that I cannot wait to see.
Yeah, terrible twos are in full effect right now. It's not going well. Really not going well. That's why I had to come outside because, like, you can't even be in the house anymore. Like, you can hear her like clear across the house in the garage. So like I had to like come out back, like completely out of the house.
You got to hide from your child. That makes sense. Let's talk about your career, though, and how this entire thing could affect you. You have been in the NFL now 12?
11, yeah, going on 12.
Going on 12. Okay, you're a journeyman. By all accounts, a journeyman offensive lineman. The first wave of free agency, you knew you weren't going to be in because you're a guy. Plug and place, here we go. I'm going to do what I do. Year 12, everybody knows me. Now, with the thoughts of the season potentially being delayed or postponed, do you have any thoughts about that for how it could directly affect your life and your thoughts and your decisions?
You know, I think when it comes down to it, I think there's obviously going to be a season. So I don't think that really affects, players. I don't think it affects me. I think at some point, obviously I'm going to sign, whether it be tomorrow, whether it be, 2 months from now, whether it be training camp, whether it be week 1. I don't know.
So you want to break that news right now? Is that what you just said?
Yeah, go ahead.
You want to break the
What
news?
3 teams, maybe?
Do you want to break the news right now?
teams or?
Yeah, we got some teams. I mean, we'll leave that up for discussion at a later time, and then whenever it gets down to 1 or 2, then we'll break it on the Pat McAfee show.
Well, that's not going to happen. Your agent will tell Schefter before you even know.
Listen, I control this. Listen, I'm year 12. Okay, got that?
All right.
Pat McAfee show will get exclusive rights.
Okay, well, that's very nice of you. I can't wait to find out where you go. But have you thought about that, especially whenever the conversation is maybe there's no fans, which could change a salary cap, which for veterans, by the way, veteran men guys, that salary cap potentially going down $30 to $80 million, which is what it was estimated by Schefter or whatever. That's an insane thing that could change the careers of a lot of people because of the decisions that have to get made on who makes the team, who doesn't make the team, who's having a job, who's not having a job, and what pay cuts are being taken.
I think it's going to be very interesting to see kind of where this goes. I think there's still collective bargaining to be had, right? I think when you see the way the MLB came back with their ownership and stuff like that, I think, it could affect it in terms of, veteran minimums might go down, a certain amount, and then you got all these things. If it goes to 14 games or if it goes to this, then how does that break down in salary? And then you got there's a million different things that I think are still conversations to be had. I think at the end of the day, like I said, if it goes to a point where there's no fans, that's fantastic for me. I can communicate with everybody. That's my job. My job is to communicate with everybody. And now I don't have to go into New Orleans or Seattle or wherever and have to use sign language to make my calls. That ends up being a nightmare at times. So I think I read Kittle said something about that earlier too. Like no silent counts in these stadiums would be huge for offenses. So there's pluses and minuses, I think, to both sides. But I think at the end of the day, football's football. What we did talk about is, I think, is without the fans, man, it's going to feel like training camp. It is going to feel like training camp all year long. It's going to feel like joint practices. And both of those things are absolutely miserable.
Let's pivot back to the football conversation because you've been around the NFL a long time. How many first overall picks have you snapped to?
Oh, let's see here. Michael Vick.
Bingo.
Carson Palmer.
Bingo.
Andrew Luck.
Okay.
Kyler Murray.
Okay. Sam Bradford.
Sam Bradford.
Has your butthole touched the most amount of number 1 overall picks in NFL history?
Possibly the most amount of money in NFL history, too.
Sam Bradford got broken off.
Yeah. Carson Palmer made a lot of
Carson
money.
Palmer made all that money. Mike Vick made a lot of money.
Twice.
Yeah, your particular stature has been used to protect a lot of money in the history of the NFL.
Yeah, it's kind of wild to think about. I mean, it's been a heck of a run. There's no doubt about that. It's been quite the journey. It's been a lot of fun. I've met a lot of amazing people. And once I figured it out, I mean, I came in this league and, my rookie year, and it's like, yeah, you try and be all serious. And then when you finally let it come to you, let your personality shine, have fun with it, man, it becomes a fun ride, as well as I do. It's like, when you take things too seriously early on, it's like, God, this isn't working. Plus, it wasn't working. I wasn't making teams. Practice squad. So, like, man, here we go. Let's just have fun with this thing and see what happens. And then things started turning around. So then, you just have fun in the locker room and treat it for what it is. And the best comes through.
Did that little terrorist 2-year-old just come outside? I thought I heard a little noise in the background.
I was praying bird. I'm out here in the desert, 96 degrees.
It's a dry heat, though. It's a dry heat.
Yeah, it's a dry heat. It's hot as hell right now.
You almost dropped an F-bomb. I'm thankful you didn't. AQ, we
Yeah,
have
I remembered what platform we were on. Right
Hey, that a boy, AQ. Big brain. All right, we'll talk to you soon wherever you make your decision. Stay safe out there, will you? We appreciate the hell out of you.
Appreciate you guys.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, Alan Quay Shipley. All right, we missed this in the first hour. Good fist bump there, AQ. Ladies and gentlemen, we have an intern for a reason. It's to keep the minutes on the show. He's going to have to do this in 2 minutes. Let's see if he figures it out. And the first time he makes an error, this will end. Ladies and gentlemen, Emmett's minutes.
Come on, Mitt.
Let's go, Emmett.
Come on now, Big
Let's go, Emmett.
Come on, Big Mitt.
All right, we got California schools will be online in the fall. We talked about the Blue Angels flying over Indianapolis yesterday.
Yeah, we did.
We talked about how Tim McAfee was used as a jungle gym by small children to watch that event.
Yeah.
Talked about college football conferences are a unified group. We had to talk about how California schools, are they relevant enough to end college football?
Great question.
In the 2020
That was a good question by us.
Yeah.
will college football work around California? We talked about how the golfer is an elite animal. Connor is a Blue Angels super fan. Ty is accused of terrorism.
Yeah, true.
Not true.
You and Billy Tubes, yeah. Iowa, too. We never thought that.
The NFL debt limit increased $150 million. Where is all this money coming from? No one has any idea.
We learned, by the way, Diggs with the fact.
Yeah, 4 of the largest banks in the United States all have over $2 trillion in assets.
Probably a problem in our society, by the way.
Yeah, it could be.
Could be. A lot of people say.
We talked about how signs.
2 trillion?
It's a lot of money.
Jeez.
We talked about where the California teams will play, New York teams will play, St. Louis potentially having a team play in their horrible dome. We had Ted Ginn on, talked about Nagy nagging him to get onto the Bears team. We talked about their quarterback competition.
Attaboy.
We talked about Taysom Hill showing signs of
Attaboy, Emmett! Yeah.
Keep going, Dick.
Talked about track speed, how track speed compares to football speed.
Yeah, we got 10 seconds.
Come on, man. Bring it home.
We talked about Pat McAfee's.
See you guys tomorrow on the radio. We'll continue on YouTube. Thank you, radio. It was a great Wednesday.
Yeah, boy.
All right, here we go, Emmett. Now we're just on YouTube. Let's go, pal.
Come on now, man.
Let's go, Emmett. Let's go, buddy.
Come on, man. Come on, man.
Emmett, let's go.
Let's go, Mitt. Let's go, Mitt. Let's go, Mitt.
Well, you got to go.
All right, we talked about coaches adjusting to get the best out of their players, how coaching networks work. We talked about Pat White, the legend. We talked about Pat McAfee's backyard petting zoo. We talked about the
Oh, man.
So close.
Mitt.
So close. Good run, though. Mitt had a good run. Attaboy, Mitt.
Hey, great work, man.
Well done. Good job, Mitt.
They're living in the house, actually, at the moment, and I haven't been able to pet them because they have fucking rabies.
If only it was outdoor.
If only. So Emmett's heirs, spelled Emmett wrong, 10.5. Some would say that's Connor's heir.
Yeah.
Well, we
now-
can't count those.
But you know, everybody spells his name like that in the comments because of how you spelled it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
All right, I'll change it then.
Doesn't sound like that's accurate.
No, I will.
Oh no, what's he gonna write? I shouldn't have done this. I shouldn't have done it. Come back on Friday to find out what he writes there. We can't thank you enough for listening and watching wherever the hell you may be. At Nick Moraldo, at Tone Diggs, Ty Schmidt, Jason McAfee, Viva Lazito, Evan Foxy, intern Emmett, and the Gopher, Boston Connor. Thank you, Blue Angels. What did you change it to?
It's gonna say Big Mitt's errors.
You spelled that wrong too, didn't you?
Yeah, kinda.
Yeah, just cover it up. We thank you all so much for fucking with us. I mean, we are the dumbest show alive. We know that. There's literally nothing to talk about. Today, there was a lot of big number talk where we tried to dissect it, 20, 30 minutes coming into the show. We appreciate you fucking with us. We appreciate you calling. We appreciate you commenting. If you enjoyed the show, please tell your friends to come join us tomorrow. McAfee and Hawk kicks back off tomorrow at 1 o'clock as well. If you didn't like the show, just go about your day and act like it never fucking happened. Cheers. Have the best day of your life. We will see you mañana.